Hi, everyone. Janet Robinson here. Welcome back to The Deep Dive, the only place where my favorite normies, Tommy Bennett and Lilly Jones, unpack the mysteries from uncomfortable theories. So sink into your beanbag chair, grab a warm cup of tea, or just keep your eyes on the road. And let's get into it. Tommy, Lilly, take it away.
I want you to do something for me. Just for a second, look at your hand.
Okay.
Seriously, you've got opposable thumbs, fine motor control. Now, I want you to try and rewind the clock. Way back.
How far back are we talking?
2 million years. You're on the African savanna. You're not human yet. You're a hominid. An upright ape, basically. Your brain is maybe a third of the size it is today.
It's a humble beginning, to put it mildly. I mean, evolutionarily, we were pretty much middle management in the food chain back then.
Right. Not the strongest, definitely not the fastest.
And absolutely not the smartest.
Yeah.
Not yet.
And that is the whole anomaly, isn't it? Because in the grand scope of things, what happens next is it's almost a glitch, a flash.
It's an explosion.
We go from banging rocks together to painting the Sistine Chapel, splitting atoms, landing on the moon, and we did it in a time frame that Darwinian evolution really struggles to explain.
It's the single most rapid expansion of cognitive power in the history of life on this planet.
Right.
And the brain didn't just get bigger, it rewired itself. You're right to call it a glitch, because that speed, that's the mystery.
So that's exactly what we're unpacking today. We've got a dossier here called Uncomfortable Theories, and we're zeroing in on a file inside it called the Spore Protocol.
And it is a wild collection of sources. We're pulling from, 1970s neuroscience, some 90s ethnobotany.
And weirdly, a 1980s cartoon that somehow seems to have predicted the whole thing.
It's a strange mix. But the central question is just fascinating. What if that leap in human intelligence wasn't random? What if it was a biological intervention? A kind of software update?
Initiated by a fungus. We're talking about the stoned ape theory, but I want to be really clear to everyone listening. This deep dive isn't about, getting high.
No, not at all.
This is about evolutionary mechanics. We are asking if a mushroom designed us. And the really unsettling part we'll get to is the protocol still running?
To even begin to answer that, we have to go back to the grasslands.
Okay, let's set the stage. Our ancestors, they're moving out of the forests. Why?
Well, the simple answer is climate change. The forests were shrinking, the planet was warming up, they were forced out into the open savanna to find food.
And this change of scenery is the key?
It's everything. Because what do you find in the grasslands? You find large herbivores, primitive cattle.
And where you have herds of cattle.
You have dung, a lot of it. And this is where a specific mushroom, Psilocybe cubensis, comes into play. It's coprophilic.
Meaning it loves dung, it grows on dung.
Almost exclusively.
Yeah.
So you have this collision course. Hungry apes foraging for anything they can find, and these mushrooms popping up everywhere the herds go.
It seems inevitable they would have eaten them.
Exactly. And Terence McKenna, the ethnobotanist who really popularized this in '92, he argued this wasn't just a one-time thing. This became part of their diet. Low doses of psilocybin consumed regularly for thousands of years.
Okay, this is where I usually get a little skeptical, and I think you might too, if you're listening. Plenty of animals eat weird stuff. Jaguars eat hallucinogenic roots. Reindeer eat psychedelic moss.
And none of them are building rocket ships.
So how does eating a mushroom actually translate into intelligence?
That's the crucial question. McKenna's theory wasn't that it magically gives you knowledge. It wasn't like, you eat a mushroom and suddenly you understand calculus.
Right.
He argued an increased capacity. He broke it down at very low doses, what we'd now call a microdose. It has a measurable effect on visual acuity.
It actually improves your eyesight.
It improves edge detection.
Yeah.
So if you're a small primate in tall grass, spotting the outline of a predator or prey, just a split second faster.
That's the difference between life and death.
That's the difference. So that's step one. A simple survival hack. You're a
Okay.
better hunter, you eat better, you pass on your genes.
Okay, that makes sense.
But as you increase the dose, the effect shifts. Goes from visual to cognitive. You get enhanced pattern recognition.
Scene connection.
Exactly. Seeing connections. If I hit this nut with this rock, it cracks. If I make this specific sound, the whole group looks over there. Strategy. And then, at the higher doses, McKenna says this is where the real software update happens. Neurogenesis and the dissolution of boundaries.
Let's define those. Neurogenesis is the literal growth of new brain cells.
Yes, which is incredibly rare in an adult brain.
Yeah.
But the boundary dissolution, that's the spark that he argues leads to language.
How?
Well, when you're in that state, The hard lines of reality soften. You experience things that don't physically exist, concepts, feelings, colors. To share that experience, you have to invent symbols. You have to create sounds that mean something abstract.
So the mushroom basically forced us to invent language just so we could describe the trip to each other.
In a way, yeah. It created a flood of new data and forced the brain to rewire itself to create a communication system that could handle it. Language.
Now, McKenna was, let's be honest, a bit of a counterculture figure. It's easy to dismiss this as just some hippie theory.
It is.
But the dossier points to research from Roland Fisher back in the 70s. And he wasn't talking about spiritual journeys. He was talking about brain architecture.
Fisher is the scientific backbone here. He was studying what he called hyperconnectivity.
Which I gotta say sounds like a marketing term for my internet provider. What is it?
Think of your brain as a big, very strict office building. The vision department is on one floor, language is in the basement, memory is on the top floor. They send memos, but they don't really mingle.
Very siloed. Rigid.
Exactly. It's built for stability. What Fisher found, and what modern fMRI scans have now proven, is that psilocybin basically throws a huge office party. It tears down the walls.
So the vision department is suddenly talking to the language department.
And the emotional center is talking to the logic center. All these parts of the brain that rarely communicate are suddenly in a massive conference call.
Which explains things like synesthesia. Right. Seeing sounds or hearing colors.
It's called global brain connectivity. And Fisher's point was that if you do this over and over again, for thousands of generations, you're not just having a temporary party. You are physically changing the building. You're building new highways where there used to be walls.
You're permanently upgrading the hardware.
And we have some pretty strange physical evidence that suggests this might have happened. The dossier calls it the lock and key anomaly.
This was the part that kind of creeped me out.
It's very strange. Genetic studies show that humans and our primate ancestors have an unusually high density of 5-HT2A receptors.
And those are the receptors that psilocybin binds to.
They're the exact ones. We have way more of them than other mammals.
Yeah.
It's almost...
Our brains were manufactured with a specific USB port, just waiting for this one flash drive.
That's the uncomfortable implication. It suggests coevolution, that we are uniquely optimized to interface with this one specific molecule.
And we have the archaeological receipts, the cave paintings.
9,000 years old. Tassian Ager in Algeria. Selva Pasquale in Spain. You see these humanoid figures, they're holding mushrooms, and there are these dotted lines going from the mushroom to their heads.
It's like an instruction manual. Insert mushroom here.
It just shows this relationship isn't new, it's ancient, foundational.
Okay, so let's pivot to the why. Because this is where the Uncomfortable Theories dossier really lives up to its name. If we run with this, if mushrooms rewired us, why? What's in it for the fungus?
You have to think like a mushroom.
I'm sitting in a pile of dung. I can't move.
Exactly. You are stationary. Your whole game is spore dispersal. You need a vehicle. And what's the most effective vehicle on the planet?
The upright ape that's starting to take over?
The one that's going everywhere. If you can make yourself useful to that ape, make it a better hunter, a smarter strategist, it will take you with it. It will cultivate you. It will spread you across the entire globe.
And we did. We took cattle everywhere, and the mushrooms came along for the ride.
A perfect symbiotic relationship. But the dossier posits two very different theories about the end game of this protocol.
Scenario A is the one most people are familiar with, the Transcendence Project.
Right. This is the optimistic take. That the intelligence behind this, whether it's just evolution or something else, wanted to create higher consciousness. Art, philosophy, love. The ultimate goal is ego death.
That feeling of being connected to everything.
The realization that we're all part of one system, you become a steward of the planet, not a conqueror.
The peace and love version. But then there's scenario B, the weapon forge. This one is dark.
It is. It draws on a less publicized observation from Fisher. He noted that while ego dissolution creates this incredible bond within your group, it can make you extremely hostile to outsiders.
Wait, so we are all one really just means we in this tribe are one.
Exactly. It forges hypercohesion, but hypercohesion sociologically often leads to extreme hostility toward the outgroup. So you combine that powerful tribal bonding with all the other gifts, better strategy, better pattern recognition, better weapons, and you don't get a peaceful monk. You get a super soldier.
The killer ape.
I mean, think about our history as a species. We weren't alone. There were Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo erectus. Where are they?
They're gone. We wiped them out.
We systematically outcompeted and eliminated every other human species on the planet. We're the only ones left. Scenario B suggests that wasn't an accident. The update wasn't for peace. It was to create the ultimate invasive species.
Wow. So the same update that gave us poetry also gave us the capacity for organized warfare.
The theory is that our duality, our ability to build cathedrals and concentration camps, isn't a bug. It's a feature. We're designed to be both spiritual and lethally dangerous.
Speaking of strange designs, we have to talk about the weirdest data point in this whole dossier.
The glitch.
I almost skipped this part because it sounds ridiculous, but the timeline. You can't argue with the base. The G.I. Joe connection.
I know, it sounds completely insane, but it's one of the strangest pieces of pop culture synchronicity I have ever seen.
Okay, so let's lay it out for you. McKenna publishes his stoned ape theory in 1992, but 5 years before that, in 1987.
There's G.I. Joe, the movie, a cartoon made to sell toys to kids.
And the plot of this movie is, it's just bizarrely specific.
It's unnerving. The villains are this ancient, hidden civilization called Cobra Law. They ruled Earth before humans, using organic technology.
And they were forced underground by primitive humans developing machines, so their plan to reclaim the planet
is to launch mutative spores into the atmosphere. The stated goal is to rewrite human DNA and consciousness, to devolve us.
And Cobra Commander himself, he wasn't just some guy, he was a scientist who had an accident with these spores which mutated him, expanded his mind.
So let's recap. 5 years before the theory is public, a kids' movie has an ancient civilization using biological spores as an evolutionary weapon to rewrite DNA and consciousness.
What on earth is that? How does that happen?
The dossier has a few options. 1, it's a total coincidence. 2, parallel thinking sci-fi writers and scientists are just breathing the same cultural air. 3, someone knew someone.
But there's a fourth option that the dossier leans into, the Jungian idea.
The collective unconscious. The idea that we all share a deep reservoir of ancestral memories. That the story of our own biological uplift, the memory of spores changing us, is buried so deep in our species' psyche that it just bubbles up in our fiction.
We're telling stories about it because, on a cellular level, we remember it happening.
It's a true glitch in the Matrix moment. It makes you wonder where our ideas even come from.
Which brings us right to today, the endgame. Because if this was a program, a protocol running on humanity, is it done?
That is the big question. Because if you look around, we're in the middle of a massive psychedelic renaissance.
Totally. It's being decriminalized, used for PTSD, microdosed in Silicon Valley.
We're returning to the mushroom in huge numbers. And the timing is interesting. You have someone like Paul Stamets, the mycologist, talking about mycelial networks as nature's internet, an intelligent system.
So, what if that network senses that its host species is about to drive the whole planet off a cliff?
It might be time to push a new software update.
A patch. Humanity 2.0. Because our current operating system, Humanity 1.0, is full of bugs. Climate change, AI, nuclear weapons.
The weapon forge mindset got us to the top of the food chain. It let us conquer the planet. But it can't run the planet. For that, maybe we need a cognitive shift back towards that scenario A transcendence. More cooperation, less competition.
And the mushrooms could be the chemical key to unlock that.
That's the optimistic view.
But there's another view, isn't there?
There is. Maybe the protocol's complete. We've done our job. We've spread across the entire globe. We've built the spaceships. We're ready to leave.
So this isn't an update to save us.
It's the final instruction set before we carry the spores to the stars. We're not the passenger. We're the ship.
That reframes everything. Our entire history, our purpose. We're just a highly effective spore delivery system.
A biological Swiss Army knife, designed by a fungus for a job. And maybe that job is about to enter its next phase.
So to wrap this up, that's the one thing we should take away from this journey. From a hungry ape to a potential cosmic gardener.
I think it's a dose of humility. We see ourselves as the pinnacle of evolution, the masters of this world. But if any of this is even partly true, we might just be a project guided for 2 million years by an intelligence that lives in the soil beneath our feet.
And that intelligence might be getting ready to hit run on the next update.
Exactly. The spores were patient for a very, very long time. If they're suddenly calling us back now, we have to ask, what are they preparing us for next?
On that note, next time you see a mushroom in your yard, maybe don't just kick it over.
Maybe just wonder, is it watching?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Spore protocol. Keep your eyes open. We'll see you next time.